Folks, we've made a lot of progress since our last pond video. I know they're coming fairly quickly at this point, but our progress is coming fairly quick as well, so I'm trying to keep you up to date. Having said that, I put the camera away for a day or two, partially because I felt like we were doing the same stuff that we had been doing for a while. I didn't think you might find it interesting, and partly because, well, it was just enjoyable to do the work and not have to have a camera out. But today, I do want to show you the progress we've made, and I want to show you what I'm doing this minute. I think you're going to find both of them interesting, because what I'm doing right now, yeah, it's a different type task. Same machines, different type task than what I've been doing, so let's get started. We're right in the bottom of the pond, what's going to be the bottom at this point. I'm guessing roughly 12 feet deep. That's what it's going to end up. And you might say, well, why'd you choose 12 feet? I didn't really choose it. We found water table here. I talked about that in a prior episode. I had some holes here, more on that in a minute, but the water was just bubbling up in here. So I haven't had time to see any YouTube comments on it yet because, well, that episode hasn't published. But I did talk to a couple experts. I talked to Mike from Dirt Perfect. I got a little side note here about Mike and just about some other things. We've had a few episodes where, well, I'll just say this. We've got an episode where several times I said, I don't know in the episode. Maybe I don't know this or I don't know that. And we get a bunch of comments. Well, you must not know much because you say I don't know all the time. I find that kind of fascinating because, well, let me give you the example. So I called Mike, Dirt Perfect, and I explained the situation, explained that I found groundwater, and yeah, I'm kind of talking about it. I said, is that a good thing? Do I want groundwater? Do I not want groundwater? Guess what he said? I don't know. Now, you understand, this is Mike from Dirt Perfect. He's built ponds for years and years and years. He's encountered groundwater. He's not encountered groundwater. What he said is I don't know your specific situation. I don't know your soil types. I don't know your geography, where it's flat. He says where we do it, it's on hills. Usually they're putting a dam in between two hills in a valley, and they love seeing groundwater because it provides a fresher water for the pond. But the reason he said I don't know is because the situation's different here, where it's totally flat, and if we've encountered a water table, we might be such that if the water level gets all the way full in our pond, that it might have enough hydraulic pressure to push downward and actually push back into the water table. First, on the I don't know, I find it interesting that some of the best experts I do know, that's the first words out of their mouth. I just think we've become such an arrogant society that people don't want to admit they don't know, and for whatever reason, at least some YouTube viewers don't want to hear someone say they don't know. I don't get it. But anyway, because of Mike's advice and another professional excavator operator that I've discussed this with, actually a viewer of our channel, I've decided to try to plug these holes back up. So I have moved a bunch of this blue clay right in here, and I'm still, I was filling up water holes, so I'll show you this. See, this is spongy as can be, and I don't know if I'll have this plugged when this water dries out, or if it will just find a way all through that clay. I don't know. I suspect the clay will kind of melt and will get rid of that. I'll be able to tell that in a day or so if it gets wet in here. Well, if it does, I'll put some more blue clay on it. I asked in a prior episode about blue clay. Again, I haven't seen that episode yet on YouTube, so I'm not able to get comments. But after talking with Mike and again some other people, they said, hey, that blue clay is exactly what you want. So there's another point of progress. You can see that we've lined most of the pond now. Finished some of this morning. I've got a little bit more down there. I've got that end to take care of, but most of it is lined now. You see back here where there's some native soil. In that situation there is a keyway behind that, and I left a ridge of soil there to be able to hold that so that I didn't have to build such a big taper all the way down. One thing I've got a lot of comments on is that I'm building the sides too steep. It's dangerous. I get that, and I'm not necessarily done with forming the sides up there. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do that. I don't have a dozer, and it is too steep to get a dozer on, but I'm going to try to see if I can come up with a way to have just a little shelf there. It may only be a foot or so. You can see a little bit up there where I've got the excavator off, going around the top, doing some packing. But yeah, that's maybe something that I'm not going to have perfect here. I find, though, that at least when it's dry, I'm able to climb on those sides. It's, you know, because it's rough and not a real smooth bank, it may not be as big of a deal as what some on YouTube are making it out to be. Now, another point, I want to talk about the future. I was going to make this all really deep, and I started watching a video series suggested to me by a viewer called Bama Bass. And he's got a 2022 series on building his own 5-acre pond. It's clear that he spared no expense on his pond. He started out by bringing in 850 truckloads of clay. That could have been $150,000, $200,000 right there just for the clay, maybe even more. Don't know how far it was trucked in, but a huge amount of money just for trucking on that. He spent a lot of time trying to make it an optimal fishing pond. Well, this is going to be too small to have trophy-sized bass in it, but I would like to have some bluegill, maybe some red ear bass, whatever it takes. I would really like to be able to catch a 2.5 pound bass out of here. That would be a joy to me just to come out. I wouldn't even have to eat it. I could catch and release, whatever. In order to make that happen, I realize I'm going to have some shallow spots for spawning beds for the bluegill. So we've decided not to dig deep on that end down there. And so in the future, I've got to figure out how I'm going to do that. We'll also begin to think about how we're going to add some other structure into the pond to try to make it just better fish habitat overall. Haven't really had time to think about that, right? I've been doing just the basics, just trying to get it to hold water. So I've got one hole left here with water in it, and my pump here just ran out of gas. I'll go up and get it filled up. Johnny 3 here has not been a star of the show for this whole pond project, and I apologize for that. We really like to focus on the tractors, but it's been difficult in this project. They just haven't been the appropriate machines for the job, but we still use them, right? I mean, they'll be useful for part of it. In this case, carrying the pump in and out. I've had it in and out several times because I've needed to get around here with the excavator. Okay, we are pumping. I've used every bit of this water for irrigation. Thought I would have way too much for that. Would have to eventually go down to the standpipe, but I haven't. Okay, let's take a look here at what we've got. The pond used to end pretty much where I'm standing. I'll try to point it down a little to let you see that. So we've cut off that much of the end of the pond. It was going to be a lot of digging to get this down to a depth that was reasonable, and it was kind of a pointed end here, so we decided to cut that across and build ourselves a levee and then build up behind that levee. So what I did was I used the blue clay on the main part of the levee itself, maybe 2 to 6 feet wide as we came up the hill there, and then we used some of the muck that we dug out of the pond, which was mainly the blue clay, but not pure blue clay, right behind the levee. And now what we've got on top is some muck, and actually you can see some topsoil, some grass mixed in. That pile there is what we're using there. It's topsoil, muck, sand, kind of an all mixture, but it's got more topsoil than most of what we've dealt with here, and so we're going to put it all behind this levee here. What I don't have yet is any sort of an overflow. I may have to wait till next year. I also don't have an intake, really. So the only side of the pond that's going to be able to take water is from here. All the water from the road is going to be diverted around for now. That may be a future project, right? I can do a lot of that. Look, we're getting to see in the pond now. Maybe it looks a little more impressive from the edge here. Video does a poor job of depth perception, so it's really hard to see. Let's just put it this way. I would not want to try to jump off right there. A drone's even worse. It's right overhead, so it doesn't really show you what the perspective of depth and what you're dealing with here. I think we're going to end up about 12 feet deep. You can see the hole on over there where we got into the water table. I'll fill a lot of that up. Here's a better example of what we're doing in the trench. I dug that trench out all the way down to the blue clay, and then I filled it in with blue clay. So in theory, any sand veins are covered here, and then I fill it right on up to the top like that. Right here, I found a drainage tile. So I've dug back several feet. You might see the tile back there. And I'm gonna fill that up with blue clay as well. I have not had the laser out. That's a major difference. The planning, I would say, on this is major difference than what you might see on Neil from Dig Drive DIY. You know, this was a bit more seat of the pants type approach here. I didn't know what I was dealing with. I didn't know what I would encounter. I just couldn't pre-plan it. I also didn't have the expertise to plan that far ahead. And in spite of that lack of planning, I do need to get the laser out and eventually get the height consistent all the way around. What I'll probably try to do is take out some extra blue clay, set it aside outside the pond, and then use it to top off the areas that need to have that done. I really believe I can get grass to grow on this blue clay. I think it'll turn brown once the oxygen gets to it. I've seen that from some of the stuff that I had dug earliest. I think I'll be able to get grass to grow, and if I can't, I can put just a little bit of topsoil on it. We'll get grass to grow that way. Well, the pump is almost done. That was one deep hole there. That hole is at least 10 foot deeper than where I'm standing now, and my feet are probably 7 to 8 feet from the surface of the water level eventually. So that would have been 18 feet there. So I think my 12 foot estimate for the final elevation is probably going to be pretty good. I may be able to leave this a little bit deeper here. I'll put some blue in there and see if I can hold it. I wouldn't mind to have one spot that's a little bit deeper yet. Okay, gotta go shut the pump off. Well, we have a surprise for you today. This is going to be one of the more interesting vehicles we've seen on our channel. This is a 1952 Studebaker. And I don't know too much about it. I know that at one point this gentleman, my neighbor, he told me that he had had 27 of these. Now he has dropped back to only one. He said that it used to have dual wheels on it. He went to a super single and increased the max speed from 59 miles per hour to, I believe it was 67. I may be off by a mile an hour or two. He says it's a Continental engine that will burn diesel or gas or distillates or anything else, I guess. He said he only burns diesel in it because the gas is supposed to be harder on the engine. I don't know about you, but I'm a little nervous dumping on the thing just because it's so special. Last thing I want to do is touch it with anything. It's one of my favorite parts of a project like this. It stirs up a lot of interest in the neighborhood, and so yeah, I got to meet a new neighbor. A lot of you were asking what I was going to be doing with the soil that was left over, and I didn't know. Bill's going to take a lot of it. He says he can use all of it. I don't know. He's just hauling it a couple miles. This old truck, he said it hadn't been used for work in years and years, 20 years I think, more. And so he kind of enjoying this because he really doesn't have to get over like 35 miles per hour or something. I'm trying not to get very full buckets. I don't really want to get in the bind here, so I'm trying to get buckets that I for sure can lift up high enough. Now, gently. Rex loaded him yesterday. I think he loaded out 7 loads or something yesterday. Didn't have the cameras out, as I mentioned.
All right, tell me about your cool truck.
The truck's a 1952 Studebaker. This truck is an ex-Air Force truck. I got it in Marquette, Michigan, and drove it down across the Mackinac Bridge.
Oh, wow.
This is probably 25 years ago. I did a full restoration. It sat out a lot since then, but it's a good solid truck, and I enjoy driving it in parades and we use it occasionally for things like this.
So what are you using the dirt for?
So we're backfilling our house that we're building right now, and we're going to do some landscaping with it, and we need quite a bit of dirt to backfill, and this is just perfect. It's nice and close, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, and we got a lot to give you, so.
All right.
Cool.
Now the search begins for some of that good blue clay. See a little over here. I might be able to grab that piece. That's a big hump. Got that. And I'll fill this in a little bit at a time so that I can pump out water again. I just don't want to get any of that sandy stuff right inside it. I would say managing my blue clay supply has been one of the trickiest challenges of this project. I wanted to keep what I had left near the places where I need it, right? So, in that way I could move it with the excavator alone, didn't have to try to get a tractor. That makes things a lot better. Hey, you might see a little bit of a water feature here on my hose. I'll show you with the bucket. See that right there? Yeah, I learned another expensive lesson. I grabbed it with the excavator the other day and squeezed it too hard and broke it. And I can tell you that a 4-inch hose, 25 feet long intake hose, is not cheap. I can look it up again, but it's somewhere between $200 and $500. I can't remember. It seemed like with the foot valve and all, I paid over $400 for that hose. It was crazy. Now, it's about, I'd say 3 foot from the end, so I could probably cut it off. If you guys know a way to patch that, let me know. Otherwise, I'll just have to cut it off and use it a little bit shorter. Most of the time, you could get by with a little shorter hose. You can see what approach I'm taking here. By filling in, I raise that water level, and I'll be able to start the pump here in a little while. Unfortunately, I've got all of the dry muck I can reach. Everything between us was another hole that I filled in as a part of this project. Kind of show you, you can see some of it out there. I push my bucket down and see. And I really don't know that I got down to the water table here. I think it was one of the original water holes that rainwater had filled after the initial dig out, right? That I kind of left. I'm getting better at this thing. I've got 83 hours on it now. I feel like I'm a lot better driver than I was when I started 70 some hours ago. See, it's still got sand, but not too much. Okay, I think I'll pump some water again and see what it looks like. Yeah, did you hear that stupid jingle? Maybe you didn't. Still got that message jingle. I haven't taken the time to try to figure out how to unplug it. Again, same equipment I've been using, but a little different type work. Sometimes when that front blade doesn't have a good foundation, or perhaps my tracks like this are not on a good firm foundation, it makes for a wild ride. So I'm going to let you guys participate in that a little bit. it's only a scoop or two like this, sometimes just deal with it. Obviously, it's much preferred to get better footing. I don't know if you can tell just by analyzing what's happening here. You may not be getting enough of a view, but this soil has almost no water holding capacity. It doesn't soak up much. And that's why once it gets itself in place, it will be a good seal. Well, I've had another good day here. Made a lot of progress today and things worked out pretty well. No major surprises. I've got some blue clay liner on all of it. Yeah, maybe I need a little bit more there, and maybe it needs to be packed in a little bit better, but it's getting dark. I need to get the pump out of here. It looks like it could rain. They had predicted rain all day today, and it didn't happen. Now the question is, have I stopped the water? And I'm not sure I have. Look at this. I put some blue there, but it is clearly bubbling right back up through that blue somehow, some way. We're not done down here yet. Maybe I need to pack it down some more, or maybe I need to put some more of that blue clay in here. I'm not sure. I'm really hoping I can stop that. I'm going to look around and see if we see any other evidence anywhere else of groundwater coming back through. I don't know that that's what's going on over here. This was the last of that water that I couldn't pump out, and it doesn't look much different than it did before. I'm seeing a little movement there. I don't know. Oh, yeah, there. That's percolating up, isn't it, somewhere there? Maybe. I can't tell. That's water draining downward, which makes sense. So that's not anything to be excited about. I think I hear our truck coming back. I'll have to get up and load. I don't see any other evidence of groundwater other than right there in the middle, and that's interesting because I think I just dug that out today trying to get some extra blue. I'm excited about the progress. Still got to stop the last of this groundwater. Hope you guys have enjoyed this project. I'm still having an enormous amount of fun. So this has just been wonderful to me. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time on Tractor Time with Tim.
Corresponding to that, baptism now saves you. Not the removal of dirt from the flesh, but an appeal to God for a good conscience through the resurrection of Jesus Christ.